Hello and good morning. A nice little day here, sitting in the garden relaxing. There's Beauty. I'm grounded, got my feet on the grass, bare feet. There's Beauty, she's relaxing in the sunshine. Another day for you. Thought she was going to be finished and gone. And I got little Mimi sitting next to me, relaxing in the sunshine. She loves being out in the sun. She's like the little Spanish Podenco. Aye. Look, in the corner we've got our strawberries just starting to grow. And the onions in the bags. Look, see, it's potatoes there. Don't know what the green things are in them pots. I just watch. I don't do anything actually. Jean does all there. There's the raised bed. Someone says, is that a tin bath? I suppose it does look like one. It's just a raised bed. We're going to put some more vegetables in. And there's the fruit trees. The ones that survived the winter. That fence there, see it? That's all brand new. It fell down and crushed a couple of the trees. Shame. See the birds? We always get a lot of crows come to feed. Hello, Beauty. You feeling okay? Nice relax in the sunshine, huh? I was reading this book, two books I've been reading, well, three actually. One of them was for the Mayan masonry, talking about how these buildings, the pyramids without the tops on, are very common throughout the world. You know, got them in Asia as well as Egypt and right the way over to South America. They had the Incas and the Mayans that would build these pyramids, identical entrances as well, and these are thousands of miles apart and supposedly, thousands of years apart as well. But the theory from these books I'm reading is there was the same race of people. And it looks very likely. I mean, they're identical types of buildings, shapes. The doors are the same shape. It's 3 doors, and the middle door is always the biggest one. And they say it's an unfinished pyramid, but there's loads of them like that made, and it's just flat on the top. All identical. They got them in Cambodia, got them in Peru, in the Amazonian jungle, as well as Egypt. Ooh. Birds are having a bit of an argument over the bird food. But yeah, very interesting. Can't remember the name of the author. I'll get it for you next time. Put some links in the description. And I was reading this other one. It was about just about secret societies, I suppose, really. And a lot of people, they'll talking about the Mayan Masons. A lot of them will stop at the Masons and the Freemasons. Hello, you, big yawn. And thinking that's it, really. But in reality, the Masons, however high they go in the Masons, are quite a low down level in authority secret society. You've got one major secret society, which I suppose would be above all others, and the ones above that would probably be so secret we don't know them. But you got the Committee of 300. Have you ever heard of that? The Committee of 300? And they actually run a lot of different societies, but you got a lot of members of the Committee of 300, and their whole agenda is everything that you see happening and has been happening. In our sort of historical memory, for a couple of 100 years, all about depopulation and control of everything, and I was reading about this guy, Henry Kissinger, who used to be part of, a lot of US governments, and I've always thought he was a bit strange. I was just reading, he was definitely part of the 300, Committee of 300, but also, you know, a member of like the Club of Rome. Now they might think that the Club of Rome is you know, massively sort of like powerful, and they are, I suppose, but they just do what they're told by the Committee of 300. And this Kissinger was like instrumental in loads of different wars, you know, creating these wars, like the Korean War. It was like my dad was in there in Korea, just after the Second World War. Everyone thinks the Second World War, you know, and it didn't, no war stopped, it just moved around the place. So then they had the war in Korea, and then it went into Vietnam and Cambodia, you know, and all of this was just all instigated by the Club of 300, you know, and it was just reading about like the wars, and even going back, you know, they were running like the First World War and the Second World War. And in the Second World War, right, we've got a huge big castle up here in Northumberland, Bamborough Castle, tiny little village of Bamborough, and they've got this huge castle there, and it's owned by, or was owned at one stage anyway, by the Vickers family. Now they actually they build weapons, tanks, guns, all that type of stuff, ammunitions, you know. And they used to have this castle. I think they're still in there now. They still own it now, and they live in part of the castle. But then you can go in and visit it. But they were just saying, you know, have you ever heard, like, during the Second World War? Now think about it, right? There was a place called Dresden in Germany, and there was a famous RAF pilot, and he was called Bomber Harris. I think he was involved in the first apparent dropping of the nuclear bomb in Hiroshima, but he was in charge of all of the bombing of Germany. And they were just saying, you know, what they did, and if you look at it, Dresden, you can check it out yourself, you know, they actually bombed and destroyed all of the people's houses, not the military targets, not the military bases, right? The houses of the workers, the houses of the people. You know, and Dresden, if you can Google that yourself, check it, research it yourself, duck go it, I should say. And they never touched any military targets. So if you imagine the same here, you know, in London, for instance, and they're calling it the Blitz, well, what did they do? They just bombed all of the poor people's houses, right? They didn't bomb Buckingham Palace, you know, St. Paul's Cathedral. They didn't bomb any of them, and they didn't bomb any military targets, because, right, these people, they owned and supplied the weapons and the ammunition to both sides of the war in the Second World War, for definitely. And they used to have a factory in Newcastle upon Tyne, Vickers and Armstrong, and they do still own that castle, Bamborough Castle in Northumberland, that family. And they used to have it was a huge big, they used to have tanks on show outside, because that's what they used to build, tanks and cannons, you know, guns, and they supplied all the weapons and the ammunition to both sides of that Second World War. So they weren't going to go and bomb the military targets, because they'd be bombing their own assets that they were selling and making all their profits from. You know, you can research that yourself. You don't take my word for it. Go and research it. And that factory that they had up at Newcastle, it was right on the River Tyne, on a part of Newcastle called Scotswood Road. A very famous road for a very famous song. The Bladen Races, famous song for Newcastle. But on that then, when they closed it down and they moved it away somewhere else, all they did was move the production so that they could make, you know, get rid of the industrial sort of like work as in the northeast, which is why they shut down all the shipyards and why they shut down all the mines. Nothing to do with worrying about coal or anything like that. They had like the mines all around here, and they had like millions and millions and millions of tons of coal still ready to dig out. I spoke to many geologists that were like worked in the mines, and they went, "Yeah, there's no reason to close it, apart from they said they have to." And the crazy thing is, like, when they actually closed it, they didn't stop using coal. They just used to start importing it instead. It's a nice huge chemtrail straight across this blue sky. All of it is controlled by this committee of the 300, which is basically like a visible arm of the cabal, if you want to call it that. And a lot of the names that I could see when I was reading it, are from the black nobility, the Venetian black nobility. But the glorious royal family as well were very well named in it. The ones that had all the celebrations and parties and music festivals and everything for a couple of weeks ago, that have been murdering people left, right, and centre for centuries. So everybody had a good party for her, eh? They got shares, and even like I say, they didn't bomb Buckingham Palace, did they? Because that's their own. So they bombed all the poor people in London, bombed all the poor people in Dresden in Germany. Didn't do any ammunition factories, didn't do any munitions dumps, didn't do any military targets where they'd be destroying their own assets. But like that Kissinger, he was like heavily involved in creating, and he got what do you call it, that a Nobel Peace Prize for helping bring an end to the Vietnam War. He created the Vietnam War, and the Korean War. And I think he's only just got rid of now. I don't even think he was retired. I think that they actually got him removed from office somewhere in the United States. And they just said when they did it, he was just a huge warmonger. That's all he ever was. But he was completely controlled by the Committee 300. And even, I'm trying to think, there was a lord. He used to work with a lord. Oh, forget the name now. It might have been Carrington. It was definitely a C. It could be Carlson, but definitely a C. And anyway, and he was one that he was in Margaret Thatcher's government during what they called the Malvinas conflict, which we call like the Falklands War. And all it was they actually wanted to completely smash the Argentinian government so they could put their own people in. So they created this Falklands War where they invaded the Falkland Islands, tiny little group of islands down in the South Atlantic. I was actually in the Royal Navy at the time, and I don't know what it's like now because they haven't got that many ships now. But at the time, you used to only be allowed to do like maximum 2 to 2.5 years at sea, and then you would have to leave and go to a shore base and have shore time, they called it, especially for training, getting your qualifications up or anything like that. So I had only just left the ship. And I was in Devon in Cornwall at a shore base called HMS Raleigh, which is where all the new trainees used to go, but they'd stopped recruiting then, so it was pretty empty, quiet. It was a huge place, but empty and quiet. I remember like sitting watching, thinking, like on the news, I had like what we call the ship's company, the ones that used to be in charge of the base, which was us. I was on the gate guard duty, and then watching, like, you used to go in an evening, go and sit in the bar, and they had the TV on, and they were just showing like they had bombed and sank like HMS Sheffield, and we were just sitting in the bar, and it was like shocked silence. Like, it was like we were always told we're the best navy in the world, and blah blah blah, no one can touch us. And then we've got like went somewhere we'd never even heard of, the Falklands, and they just sank one of the most modern ships in the world. I'm like, what? You know? But it was just all created, and it was he was the Foreign Secretary to Margaret Thatcher, and it was either Lord Carrington or Lord Carlson with a C, but he was part of the Committee of 300, or at least he was owned by them anyway, and he actually manufactured that conflict so that they could destroy the government and the democracy that they had, or whatever it was, not democracy, but they wanted to destroy the government so they could get complete control of it in Argentina, the Committee of 300. And everything that they've always done has all just been about like getting control, which is exactly what we're in now. Now, if you look, and they're saying how powerful they are, if you look at what happened in 2020, and like you had literally everything all happening at the same time. Every single country did everything that they were told to do. Everything shut down. And then all of the TV, the media, which they own, all of the media. Now they own and control it, right? The Committee of 300. Just looking at the birds. Janine had them all of bird feed out today. And then they get the huge crows come and chase the little ones away. Yeah, but you know, that just shows you like the power and the control that they have over everything. And then the media, like, you know, just does everything that they're told to do, all run by the Committee of 300. Now, when I've seen a lot of the names, some of them that I know from the black nobility that are like a little bit higher, certainly like weren't mentioned. And you know, the Committee of 300 is very secretive, very powerful. But I bet you, from looking at the names, that there'll be people way above them as well. A lot smaller than 300. But you got to think, you know, this like 300, the Committee of 300, this is what runs the world. 300 people. And they run the world, and everything happens what they say. And so you're saying, like, you know, we're the 99% and all that. We're not. It's like 99.999999999. There's 300 people that rule the world, you know, from these families. And the whole essence of what they've been doing is to destroy all of the morals of the country so that they can rule it. Now, what they mean by the morals of the country, and so if you look, right, and they wanted to destroy the Christian faith and the Catholic Church, so they put these people in charge of it that will do what they're told. So if you imagine, you know, the sanctity of life should be there for the Creator, the sanctity of life. However, now you're having literally like the Catholic Church, you know, from the Vatican saying that abortion is fine, yeah, and you can and gay marriage is fine. This is not, I don't care if you're gay, straight, do whatever you want, I don't care. That's not what the point is, right? But what they're doing is they're actually trying to destroy the whole morals of the society. And everything has to happen harder in America because everyone follows suit. That's why they always attack America hardest. So if you look at all of the stuff that's taught in the schools now, taught to the children, you know, and there's more than one reason for it, but like this gender thing, for instance, you know, there's two genders, there's a man, there's a woman, and they can get together to make another life. And that is the sanctity of life, and that is the miracle of the Creator, and He creates life. Right? And there's only two. They're actually getting taught these ridiculous things, and all of these like so-called politicians that are all owned, you know, by the Committee of 300, although they'll not have a direct link, because then you've got like, you know, the Club of Rome, and underneath the Club of Rome you've got like the WEF and NATO, the own NATO and United Nations. They run all of that, and all of the people that are in charge of that are all of their puppets. You know, there isn't a single decent thing about any of it. The EU, all of it is completely and utterly owned by the Club of 300, Committee of 300. And if you look at all of the politicians that you've got in place that are affected or part of the WEF, under Klaus Schwab, who own nothing and be happy. But I mean, he's just doing what he's told by the Club of Rome and by the Committee of 300. He's just another puppet doing exactly what he's told, wearing his stupid clothes, right? Telling everyone that we're all gonna own nothing and do everything that we're told. And just look at the way that they're actually destroying all of like society, and everything that they're teaching them in the schools now about, and they're giving sex education. They're actually the sex education to like very young children and very wrong types of sex education. Yeah. And that's all just to destroy the actual morals of society so that they can actually control it, and they'll cripple everything and smash everything, and then they'll come in with offer the solution, and the solution will be the one government, which is exactly what they want, and then depopulate immensely, which was, I was reading about, it was the Prime Minister of Italy, and they actually, in broad daylight, kidnapped. It was in 1981. Can't remember his name now. Just reading about it, and they kidnapped him and killed him in broad daylight. The Prime Minister of Italy, because he was trying to make Italy. He was trying to fight them because they were wanting to get rid of all the industry in Italy and depopulate Italy. And he was fighting against them, and they kidnapped him in broad daylight. I think they called it it was the Red Brigade. All terrorism acts and everything like that. Everything that happens anywhere in the world, it's all them. It's all the Committee of 300, or all of the minions underneath there that do what they're told. Nothing happens by itself, and nothing happens as coincidental or anything. Everything is created by them. You know what I mean? Like all these events, all of the terrorism events like in London and New York, everything like that, all organised by them. Even the little individual ones, it's all sanctioned and organised, And then when you actually hear about it, and then it's, like, I'm not saying names or anything, but you see these terrorists that supposedly acted on their own, and then the intelligence service had known about them for years. We're following them. Why? Because they were looking after them, preparing them to do what they had to do, all like organised by the Committee of 300. You should go and do some research on it and see, and then have a look at all of the different. There has never been a single time ever, right, in my life, that we have not had a war around this country. Because we're in the Dark Ages, the ages of iron, right, the Kali Yuga. It's what we're right in now. Now, apparently it's coming out, and it is going to end. We're ending up about 13,000 years of the Dark Ages and start to move into the golden era. But I don't know when that will be. But that's what they're actually doing now. You can see it and you can feel it, and you just know exactly how they're trying to destroy everything, so that they can just be, I don't know, they can't get rid of every single human out of the whole planet, but it seems like they want to get rid of most of them. It's like everything's okay at the minute because we're in the summer in the UK anyway. But when we get into the winter months, when it starts to get a bit darker, what are you crying for? And it starts to get a bit colder, right? And they're planning, and they're talking about it already, about electricity outages, power outages, food shortages. They're planning it, and it's going to happen. So, make sure that you prepare for a bad winter. So make sure that you get yourself, maybe gas heaters, you know, and either torches or candles or something like that. But don't burn your bloody self or burn your house down. But like, be prepared for food shortages and power outages in the winter. Right, when it's dark and cold and miserable, and they're going to try and make it even more so. Hello, you. Silly little Mimi's there. She was crying. I don't know, there might be something. She sniffs behind here a lot, behind the seat. I think the hedgehogs run around the garden and she smells them. Yeah. And she gets excited by them. Alright, anyway, so just thought I'd tell you about some books that I've been reading, some studying I've been doing. It's early morning now. I'm going to go and get some fruit for my breakfast and then get on and do some work. Got some calls this afternoon as well. I've got some trust work to do. Okay, so then, don't mean to depress anyone by that news, but there you go. You've got to make sure that you prepare yourself. It's all about protection. That's why we talk about the trusts and about like the land registry forms and everything. It's all about protecting yourself and your family and your assets, but also getting ready to protect yourself from an onslaught of what they're going to try and do over the winter. Alright, so take care everybody, and we will see you later. I'll tell you what, Mia's trying to get in on the arc. Let's say goodbye. There's little Mimi. And Beauty's still lying there, relaxing. There we are. Say goodbye. There, say goodbye. Bye. She's like a little fox, isn't she?